Meet our human. He's sitting at a small desk in a plain room, shoulders slightly slumped, staring at his phone. He looks tired. Not physically, but the kind of tired that builds up slowly over months. This is a story about staying. Staying in a relationship that stopped feeling good. Staying in a job that drains more than it gives. Most of us have done it. And the strange part is, we usually know something is wrong long before we do anything about it. So why do we stay? Why does the mind, which is supposed to protect us, sometimes talk us into staying put? That's what we're going to unpack, gently, honestly, and without judgment. Because understanding why we stay is the first real step toward knowing what to do next. Let's start with the most obvious reason: fear of the unknown. The brain is wired to prefer certainty, even uncomfortable certainty over uncertainty. A bad job you understand feels safer than a new job you can't predict. A relationship with familiar problems feels safer than being alone with unknown ones. This isn't weakness, it's biology. Our ancestors survived by avoiding unnecessary risk, but in modern life, that same wiring can quietly trap us in situations that are actually more dangerous to our well-being than the unknown ever would be. Next comes something psychologists call the sunk cost fallacy. We look at everything we've already invested, years, effort, emotional energy, and think, I've already put so much in, I can't leave now. But here's the truth. Time already spent is gone either way. Staying doesn't get it back. It only risks more time on something that isn't working. Recognizing this pattern is one of the most powerful tools for breaking free, because it separates what already happened from what's actually best for the future. Then there's identity, the quiet fear of, who am I without this? When a relationship or job becomes part of how we see ourselves, leaving doesn't just mean losing the thing. It means losing a piece of identity too. That's a much scarier prospect than it sounds. It's not just, I'll be single or I'll be unemployed. It's, who will I be? This is why people sometimes stay in situations that hurt them, not because they don't see the harm, but because they haven't yet found who they'd be on the other side. Now let's talk about hope. Specifically, the hope that things will change. Maybe next month will be different. Maybe they'll finally change. Maybe this project will finally get better. Hope is beautiful until it becomes a reason to ignore reality. There's a difference between hope grounded in evidence, where things are actually improving, and hope that's just a coping mechanism, where nothing has changed in 2 years, but we keep waiting anyway. Learning to tell these two apart is one of the hardest, most important skills in protecting our own well-being. Let's look at comfort and routine. Even unhappy routines feel oddly comfortable because the brain conserves energy by running on autopilot. Breaking a routine, even a bad one, requires active mental effort. It means facing new decisions, new people, new uncertainty. So the brain, always looking for the path of least resistance, quietly nudges us to keep circling the same loop, telling us it's not that bad, even when part of us knows otherwise. Fear of judgment plays a role too. What will people think if I leave? What will my family say? Will people think I failed? This fear can be incredibly powerful, sometimes more powerful than the unhappiness itself. We often overestimate how much others are paying attention and underestimate how much they'd actually respect a difficult, honest decision. But in the moment, the imagined judgment can feel just as real as an actual crowd standing in front of us. Then there's the "it could be worse" trap. We compare our situation only to worse alternatives, which makes almost anything look acceptable. But that's a low bar. The real question isn't, is this the worst it could be? It's, is this actually good for me? And is it what I want out of life? Sometimes we stay because we're waiting for permission from ourselves or from someone else to leave. But healthy change often doesn't arrive with permission. It arrives with a decision. Waiting for the right moment, the perfect sign, or someone else's approval can turn into years of waiting for something that was always within our own power to choose. Emotional attachment matters too, and it's not something to dismiss. Love, loyalty, shared history. These are real and valuable. The goal isn't to pretend they don't matter. It's to ask a harder question. Does this attachment still serve my well-being? Or am I holding on to a version of something that no longer exists? Let's talk about burnout's sneaky trick. When we're exhausted, we have the least energy to make the biggest decisions. Ironically, the moments we most need to leave are often the moments we're least equipped to plan an exit. This is why small, low-energy steps matter more than dramatic ones. Because waiting for a burst of motivation that never comes just keeps the cycle going. Now the turning point. Noticing the gap between what we tolerate and what we deserve. Awareness is the quiet beginning of change, not a dramatic outburst, not a sudden ultimatum, just an honest, private moment of admitting, this isn't working for me anymore. Once that awareness settles in, small actions start to matter. Talking to one trusted person, looking at one job listing, setting one small boundary. Big change rarely starts with a big leap. It starts with a small, deliberate step that proves to ourselves that change is possible. The fog is still there. It doesn't disappear just because we're brave. But we walk through it anyway, because staying stuck was never actually the safe option. It just felt that way. Staying in something bad isn't a character flaw. It's the predictable result of very human fears. Fear of loss, fear of judgment, fear of the unfamiliar. But once we understand why we stay, we get to choose differently. Not perfectly, not instantly, but honestly. If any part of this felt familiar to you, that's not a coincidence. It might be the nudge you needed. Thanks for watching.